So basically, how should we set our expectations in relation to natural hydrogen? Should we be careful?
Yes, definitely we did. We have to be careful because in comparison to the oil industry, we know how to use the hydrocarbon. You know, the usage of hydrocarbon was a little bit more known than that hydrogen. Traditionally, we use hydrogen in different industries and producing hydrogen. For example, and for your information, Canada is among 10 the countries that has a very well established the hydrogen production. But the majority of use of hydrogen was in refinery, in science, the
Yeah.
scientific studies, and a little bit in steel industry and ammonia. Further than that, even our industry doesn't exactly know how they are going to use hydrogen as, for example, source of heating, source of energy the power plant or something like that. It doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. It means that it needs more study, more there's some kind of investment to better understand what is exactly the uses. Probably in next 2 years, we are not going actually to see a major shift in using hydrogen as source of energy, but down the road, in longer term, with advance in technology and science, probably we can find the use. But we have to be cautious about all of those excitement around the natural hydrogen, the exploration and use of hydrogen as well.
Knowing the size of the discovery in Mali,
Mhm.
um, I do you think we should set our expectations based on that, or do you believe, based on your research, that there are much bigger potential discoveries? Because this one is not is pretty small.
Yes,
Yes.
the Mali example is a small actually case. Always the small is not a bad thing. For example, you can if you are in Arctic Canada or the remote areas that you need technically to provide energy for a local community, a small community, the Mali example could be convincing. But if you look at the hydrogen, for example, to replace to natural gas, that we have huge resources of natural gas with huge reserves around the globe that already estimated, you cannot actually compare these two. And Mali is not a good example for large scale technically so far, but unfortunately, this is the only example that we have, and somehow characterized reasonably. But yeah, it's cannot be a good technically example for larger scale usage. Uh, One thing about Mali is the continuous the emission of hydrogen and continuous flow of hydrogen from the reservoir, which is very promising. But the
Yes.
size is important. If we want to actually the upscale this the Mali, we need actually to find much larger the resources than Mali to will be able to have the more contribution from hydrogen to energy resources globally.
What are the biggest unknowns in Canadian hydrogen systems that could impact research?
As I mentioned, the migration paths and major reservoirs are the major unknown right now. That we cannot expect where we can find hydrogen. But as I mentioned previously in our discussion, Canada have all of those with diverse geological setting, have all of those components of hydrogen system. But it's a matter of research, and it's a matter of the field work or the studies to find out where, for example, uh, theoretically hydrogen produced, where is migrated and where is trapped. And definitely you need to have all of those components together to be able actually to find the natural hydrogen resources, which is source, migration paths, and the trapment. The vastness of Canada is one of the major technically the challenges to find those resources. But with our activities in Geological Survey of Canada, we hope that we can narrow down the major spots that can be looked for further the exploration and studies.
How can Canadian hydrogen exploration benefit from technological advancements? Actually, where are we in these terms?
As I mentioned, the previously Canada is one of the major the players in the terms of hydrogen. In terms of hydrogen, the fuel cells, Canada is very the advanced. Also in terms of hydrogen manufacturing, right now, Canada is one of the major producer of the different type of hydrogen through steam methane reformation or somehow the production of hydrogen. Therefore, Canada have a very actually vast knowledge on hydrogen in general. And also the Geological Survey of Canada is one of the oldest organization in Canada that have very good knowledge of our sedimentary basin and our geology. Therefore, these backbones of scientific and industrial backbone they can help a lot the Canada to be a leading nation in terms of hydrogen economy.
What are the next steps for large-scale hydrogen development in Canada?
Uh, as I mentioned, we started the first steps in the identifying the good spots or potential spot for hydrogen exploration Canada. In addition, we are working with our colleague in the USGS, US Geological Survey, European countries like Geological Survey of Finland, and academia in the Canada, University of Calgary, University of Toronto, and other experts to develop next steps for the exploration of hydrogen in Canada. Part of activities at Geological Survey of Canada is defining a new program called GeoEnergy Program. That the big chunk of this new program would be about hydrogen, either natural hydrogen resources or underground hydrogen storage the project that we are trying actually to have some specific funding for those type of research and advancement of natural hydrogen and underground hydrogen within Canada.
How might ongoing research reshape Canada's position on the global hydrogen market?
Uh, Previously, I mentioned the majority of the research on hydrogen come initially from Canada by research by Professor Barbara Sherwood-Lawler of University of Toronto. Her PhD thesis was on Canadian shield and the Finnish shield on the hydrogen and other gases in the Precambrian shield. At that time, back in 1990s, the hydrogen was not the focus of energy resource, but it was the focus of another type of energy, which was energy for the biological activity underground in deep, for example, the Precambrian crust and Precambrian shield. Uh, Initially, Canada have very good the knowledge of the hydrogen generation and hydrogen the research studies, and those resources right now vastly used by the scientists and industry across the board, specifically the outstanding work by Professor Barbara Sherwood-Lawler in their estimation and in their assessment of hydrogen resources. Therefore, Canada the traditionally have a very strong position in research in hydrogen, mainly on the at uh, different levels or different scientific subjects, as I mentioned, for example, source of energy for deep the biosphere, and also in the outer space research, as I mentioned, Professor Barbara Sherwood-Lawler was involved in NASA and the Canadian Space Agency research on life on the Mars and the other extra terrestrial, technically, the environment. And we have a very good, strong scientific backbone in Canada on theoretical knowledge of hydrogen production, natural hydrogen production and formation.
Amit, thank you very much for this insightful session.
No
Thank you for
problem.
being
It
my
was
guest.
great. It was a great pleasure to talk to you, Ernest.